Good morning, everybody, and happy Memorial Day. Can't get it to stop being at 100% brightness. I'm gonna reboot it. There we go. On a reboot, we get better. We just need to be rebooted. There. That's what I wanted. Sometimes these guys just need to be rebooted. All right. Let's get ourselves started this morning. It's Memorial Day, and we still have lots of work to do. I personally was thinking the other day with Tamerlan. I remember what I did was I spent a good couple of days doing all the pre-poses. And what I mean by a good couple of days is many hours. So probably 16 hours getting all of the pre-poses in. And so that's a few days for us here. Because even with day and night shows going 4 hours, we're going to be going for, that's 16 hours, it'd still be a few days. So that's a thing. So we're going to continue with the thing. The good news is, with the ambient onboard music, I don't have to run Winamp, which is really cool. So there's that. Which is important because the more we build this comic, the more resources this thing's taking up. And I'm noticing the slower that Clip Studio is on handling things, because it's not handling things. So this is a thing. So we're gonna switch to monitor mode. We're gonna go on in here and take a look at each page. So when we look at page 20, we've got everything in here that we really kind of need for that. Wait, oh, I don't know what changed, but I just saved it. So looking at 22. Okay, nothing changed. Looking at 23. This is where we need 3 shots of the ship. So let's go ahead and put those in. Those are smaller, so I'm going to go on ahead and open recent. Maybe open recent. That one. Maybe. No. The only reason I'm saying no is because, yeah, no, actually, we're better off with a new. And the reason I'm doing this is because, so first of all, it aggravates me because Kittywake's landing gear is down. She's in landed mode here, but that's okay. It's better than trying to reassign that missile door, which is screwed up. If we ever have to fire missiles, it's going to be a miserable day for us. We do need to make sure all the doors are closed. because the scenes that are called for at this point in time call for us to make a camera, and we're going to have to pull the camera back. Now, one thing I was just talking about last night, I was watching a scene out of Apollo 13, and there's a scene during the launch sequence where they're launching Apollo 13, and the rocket's on the pad, and then it starts to, the fire comes up and everything like that, and then it lifts off, clears the tower, as the little arms are pulling away, you see it moving a tower, and then it cuts to the scene where you see directly down, and the rocket goes right past the camera. And I turned to my wife and I said, I really wish they'd used a wider lens for that. I think it's a bad choice for that. So let's talk a little bit about lensing and how lenses work, because you actually kind of need to know a little bit about this in order to do this part of this job if you want to do comics the way I do it, which is by using 3D models. I mean, this is our kittiwake. We know this is a big ship. How do we know it's a big ship? It's got windows right here and here and here and here, so it's a big thing. It's not small. It is a small ship relative to, say, my destroyers or some of the other larger vessels that are in Bellatrix Rising, which we haven't met yet. But there are markedly larger ships. But this is a person's small, right? We know that because there's a shuttlecraft on the back, right? So the thing about this is that lensing on your cameras makes things feel bigger or smaller. If I use a 50 millimeter lens on this, or even for that matter, a 300 millimeter lens, right? Then let's do this. I'm gonna match the frame width with that, otherwise it doesn't look right. Then what you've got is a toy. It looks like a toy. We all feel like it's a toy. It feels like something a child would play with, right? Conversely, it can go to 22 millimeters, and even though it's the same thing, now it's looking huge, right? Problem is, at some point, you end up with it distorting. But see, this now looks like an actual vehicle of some size. We've got some kind of feel of it. All of it has to do with the fact that when humans stand next to it, they're going to be looking at it from, say, this point of view, right? I mean, they're going to be right here at the docking door or whatever. So seeing the ship, we know as humans that this is kind of what it looks like, right? We know that it looks, you'd be looking over the wing like so, and it's a massive vessel. It's a huge ship, right? It's the same thing as what you used to do as a kid when you'd fly the ship right by your eyeball, gives that feeling of the same thing, like it's huge and stuff. So that's what we need to make sure we do. So when we shoot the ships like this, I usually try to choose, with this model, it's set for a 22 millimeter lens, so that it makes it look large enough that it's okay. The thing also you have to worry about is the closer you get to 0, the more weirdly distorted it becomes, right? You can see how it's becoming weirdly distorted. The wings start to warp out and stuff like that. I mean, this becomes so weird. This is a great effect if you want to show spaghettification. Here's a 5 millimeter lens on it, right? Right. I mean, kind of becomes sort of a thing where you're like, well, that's weird. The blue on this one. Right? So, you want to be careful. There's an extension to a point where that lens gets so small that it becomes really bizarre. So 22 is probably the smallest I will get. It's enough that I get the feel the vessel is large, but it's not so small that it starts warping out the ship and making it strange. The scene calls for it to fly forward, turn around in front of us, and then turn around and go the other direction. This gives us a feeling of motion. We're going to need also a sphere to represent moment. But I'm not going to do much with it. I'm just going to have a primitive in here to indicate the planet so that we don't have to use it. It's a very small sphere. It's super small. There, and move out enough I can see it. We're going to make it big enough to look right. But the truth is, we're not going to make it so big that it actually is planet-sized. So, if we actually make it the right scale to our ship, not only will it be useless, there's no point in that, but it will disrupt the scene enough that you'll be like, okay, that's so, okay. Because at this point, she still looks like she's in orbit around the planet just fine. So it'll look just fine. She'll be like, whoa, and it'll be cool. Okay. Okay, let's take the flight on this. Let's go on ahead and rotate her in so she's about to head into this turn. Remember our flight surfaces. So the fact is that she doesn't need her flight surfaces right now. And I remember that they were down for the previous scenes. There's no reason for it. These seem to have the real job for flight surface operation. She's about to drag on that side, so we're going to pull down the deployment on those wingtips so that she can drag down just fine. There we go. Hello, Brent. Good morning. Happy Memorial Day. My memorial pin, by the way, would be USS Tamerlan, NCC 510. Because actually, I believe you could pretty much make a good solid argument that I served on her before I served on the QuaCk. One could make a reasonable, logical argument about that. All right, so we're gonna do. Kind of want to pull her back a little, like so. I'm going to make sure that our rendering sets are correct. 3D delight. Let's go for general. We don't really need it to be huge for this one. So I think by 2000 would be far more than enough render for this. All right. Pull from the desktop. We're at page 23, frame 1. So this is And then we'll pivot her over. Closer. Because if she's going to look like an airplane, she should act like an airplane. I don't know. There's a logic in my head somewhere about this, which makes sense. Doesn't need to make sense now. QuaCk. It's like Quakers. And then we'll level her out. So we put her into orbit. The model of the planet is too small, but funny. Now you're starting to make me wonder. It made me worried when you use my full name, like I'm in trouble now. Like, I think when my mom used to use my full name, I was like, "Whoa, I'm trashed now. I'm in trouble." Bring that deployment back in, because the wing deployment doesn't need to be deployed anymore. Pull it back. And I feel like she's towards me like this. Like she's coming in a little bit harder like this. And there we go. We pull her back, pull the picture back just a little bit more too, so we can see that she's pulled into it. Now, starships with wings, I feel like should orbit like a space shuttle would. Starships without wings would orbit intellectually with the poles up. So the ship would fly without wings. It would fly with the pole up like the Enterprise would, because she's not supposed to be in the atmosphere, right? Starships with wings, though, would fly like a space shuttle would, with the face towards the surface of the planet, especially since the intention here is for this Corvette to go atmospheric very shortly. So we're not that far off of atmospheric for this. So let's do 3. So we're going to do that, and then that will give us these 3 panels. So let's go ahead and put them in, and they will be completed panels. All right, there we go. So it did. So the shuttle has 2 modes when it was in orbit. One, early on, especially Columbia, flew heads down, wings level, which is what they called it, which was upside down with this facing towards the Earth. That was very beneficial for opening the cargo bay doors to release an object towards the Earth, because it gave you a good solid deployment onto an orbital track that they could easily track. It also allowed the instruments inside the shuttle bay, if there were any that went with the deployment of the satellite, those instruments wouldn't heat up. So you didn't know whether you wanted those. You didn't want thrusters on the rocket to prematurely fire. You didn't want. There's all kinds of things that could occur. So they were using it for protection. But the truth is, there are heat shields on the inside, radiators on the inside of the doors. So even when the shuttle had nothing in it, it would open its cargo bay doors to let those radiators radiate out heat. But they were reflective, so they could also control and manipulate heat in a way. That was an inside thing, that inside the shell, that we saw for a while. Later, as we got more technology, they'd swap out the radiators, they would get different kinds of setups going on. And at some point in time, it got to the point where it really didn't matter which way they flew. They did. Some were slightly more efficient than others, but it didn't matter. As we got to the ISS, the easier way to approach the ISS, especially the docking doors that they used, or the docking port that they used for space shuttles, was to approach from below. And if you did, that meant that you came up on flight with the heads up wings level onto the flight, and then open the cargo bay doors to open and expose the docking ring and radiate out heat. And then all it needed to do at that point in time was thrust forward with the OMS maneuvering engines, and that would give it up. It was easier to do than to come down. So, also more logical in a human's brain. But from a really, really, really close view of the Earth, like low Earth orbit, it's really hard to see it reversed or see it sideways. We don't process that well. I have a hard time with that. So, it's not impossible. We just have a hard time with it. So there's a lot of, I don't want to say push. Push isn't the right word. There's a lot of default desire, is probably a better word, to fly in that more either heading this way, because then when you look at it, the ground is kind of doing this underneath you, and that makes more sense, rather than this, which makes you feel like you're upside down and you're going to crash on your head. It doesn't mean much. It's still fine. As so many people want to remind folks, do all kinds of things in space that don't make sense. I wonder if I could put this on top of this, like so. Maybe even on top of this, like this. That'd be kind of cool looking, wouldn't it? And then trim here and make this black so that it feels kind of like it's coming out of the frame. That'd be kind of cool. Let's do that. So we're kind of coming out of the frame, like, whoo, sort of thing. Almost exactly like you asked for. Although, the only problem I have with this is I really kind of want this to be a smaller frame. Like so. And then move this guy over. And this guy. Oh, well, I didn't know that was the control operation. I've done that before. And I can take you. There. It just makes it feel more like it's kind of curving, and want to give a little bit more space to the kitty that's in this frame right here. Indicate that she's made the maneuver. Like this kitty here will actually make her kind of smaller, so that the biggest version of her is right here. She pivots over on her wing. There. So we're kind of making it so that it looks like a triptych of the ship kind of pivoting around, right? She's coming around and then putting herself into orbit over here. And actually, I think I will shrink that down just a hair too. So the biggest version of her is this, where she's closest to the camera. Okay, you're going to need to be outlined because you extend past frame. So you're not set to that. Set to the frame. So, which, by the way, that's what these, if you're wondering, are right here. Those are all radiation and radioactive panels to radiate heat away from the ship if it needs to. Radiate it into space. You'll see that on all of the Unity ships. And these hexagons have a specific job where they specifically bleed heat out, and that's their job. They can also absorb heat. They can do both ways. They're thermocouples. Okay, we can finish this task in a couple of ways. We're going to go into my shared resources folder, textures. So I use these star fields, and I've used them for, I'm not kidding, years. And it's kind of funny because these star fields are from a program called, I think, Stars. I can't remember anymore now. But they were it was this program that made stars. And I downloaded it, and I made the biggest pictures I could think of. Maximum resolution. Took my computer forever to make, like 2 minutes or something, to make 1024 by 1024. Massive. And I'm humored by it. But the truth is, it's kind of sad because I'm going to have to come up with new stars pretty soon. But these have been my stars that I have used since 1998 or 1999, somewhere in there when I downloaded this program. And I rendered out 10 of these guys. And that's all I've got, because that program doesn't work on anything anymore. And no stars that I have ever generated since then look right. So I know that there will be a day pretty soon when I'm going to have to make a new set of stars for my star fields and stuff like that. And maybe I'll make better stars, but I'm going to have to make new stars. And I'm sad because these were perfect. They were the perfect distribution. They were the perfect layout. They were perfect. And so I'm sad that someday I'm going to have to make new stars, because 1024 by 1024, you can't really see it, but you can kind of see it. I mean, when we get close enough, they don't look as crisp. And it's okay as long as we're kind of focused on the starships and not the stars, but I don't know. Maybe there is a way to do these. I mean, because I'm just looking at this, and maybe there is a way to kind of make it work. The other thing we should think about is we're on the other side of the wall. We're in the wall. So we're in a nebula, or at least a gas cloud, high hydrogen gas cloud, an H1 gas cloud. So I may need to rethink space here anyway. I mean, this is only the second panel that we've done space in. And by the way, we don't do Geek Tank today at 10 o'clock. Keep that in mind. I'm kind of pondering whether I should take a quick break here, and it won't take long to do a new set of stars. I have actually a brush that does stars. Suddenly, I'm realizing something though. Tonight, we're supposed to do. Hang on, real quick. I think we didn't have a discussion topic on this one. So, I believe that there may be a communication failure on its way. Because we probably ought to. Hey guys, so we are supposed to switch to nights for GT today. However, Alex is having a movie thing. My show continues past 10 a.m. if you want to join. All right, there we go. Much better. I'm just making sure everybody knows. Okay. We're going to do a new one. We're going to do a new thing. Okay, we're going to do pixels. I'm going to make this 3000 by 3000. Be a square. We'll make coffee. Well, no, but in lieu of Geek Tink, you get another hour of me out here, and plausibly, Brian, depending. Now that, because he usually can't make it until 10 o'clock, and when Geek Tink was running, that meant that he couldn't join on Mondays at all. But he's been doing the show quite a bit on his own recognizance or whatever. So another hour of QuaCk, which, don't say I'm going into the weeds. I'm not. While you were making coffee, I was talking about these stars. And the stars that I have been using, these 10 stars, 10 star pages. Here, I'll show you. I have these 10 star fields. These 10 star fields were created by, well, with the exception of this guy, because this is my star field for springs. But all of these guys here, these 10 star fields, were created by a program called Stars, which was designed, I'm not kidding, for Windows 3.11 and modified for Windows 95. So when I made these star fields, they were all huge and 1024 by 1024. Massive star fields. So I am now, of course, looking at this going, 1024 by 1024 means that I have been blowing them up for each and everything forever. And you can kind of see it now here, as there is a definite resolution difference between the stars coming up behind here and our dear and lovely Kittiwake. There's nothing I can do. They're 1024 by 1024. The resolution of my comic page is by default higher than that. They weren't print resolution when I made them in 1998. That's what I'm thinking. The other thing I was thinking was, we're on the other side of the wall, so I think it's time for us to have outside of the wall star fields and inside the wall star fields. And the inside the wall star field should show the H1 clouds that are in that area, so that you get a feel that you are on one side or the other of the wall. Because we keep talking about the wall, and everybody keeps talking about the wall, and the ship is on the other side of the wall, and all of the backwater neighborhoods are on the other side of the wall. So knowing that that's the case, we should have some kind of visual cue that shows that we're on the other side of the wall. So that's what I'm thinking. We're going to make some new star fields real quick. That's what we're going to do. What's our page size at the moment? If I were to look at this page, what's our page size? Because we should just make it, we're never going to be higher than the resolution that it needs for a page, right? But I should make it big enough to be one page. I'm going to actually say, Brent, I think you're being more excessive than I want to be. And I'm weighing in whether I want to join you in this totally excessive parade or not. Because I actually kind of like what you're saying. Because at the moment, I was just going to make stars. But I'm not going to lie. If I were to use, say, Celestia to generate the core star map, so that whenever you look at it, it is actually accurate to the stars around Bellatrix, so that astronomers could read my comic and go, dude, he got the stars right. I'm trying to decide whether I want to do this or not. I mean, it wouldn't, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess we could rule this out real quickly. Let's spin up Celestia and see what Celestia says. If Celestia cannot actually pull the resolution that I want, that answers that question pretty quick, right? So we're spinning up Celestia at this point. We've really confused my poor machine, because all the labels are always on, and it's kind of bizarre. Well, yes, but the background stars were never quite here. So, go to View. Turn off all of them. Markers, orbits, grids, comet tails, and all of our labels. And no information text. Turn off the nebula line. And the filter stars, take that down to there. Well, so that's kind of the thing, right? What's interesting is looking at the way Celestia does things. Is that sun? It's the sun. Okay. No. Looking at the way that Celestia does things, stars actually look somewhat like they look like whenever I'm switching the music. All right. I mean, because I've got to admit, this would be accurate, right? Because there's the Pleiades. You can see it clear as day, right? There's Jupiter and all of her satellites going by. And if we were to shift location, we could shift location to the point where we're near Mountain. There's. I wonder if I can eyeball. No! Why did you do that? Grids, orbits, markers. To view. Let's go to locations. And those are on. Okay. Navigation. Select Soul. to. Let's make sure that we're correct to sol. All right. Pleiades is the easiest cluster to see from range, although there's the Hyades cluster, so that's kind of identifiable as well in the night sky. Rotating around. I'm trying to see what the... I mean, because I have to admit, this is a much... I mean, this is the night sky as we would see it, right? With the exception of the fact that there's a huge blob in the middle of it. But I mean, if we pull out to a few light years, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, just a few light minutes, right? Like 1 light year should be enough, right? Or half a light year. Let's do half a light year. Then it's just another star in the night sky. That works. I mean, Vega's now bigger. So there's that. Okay, so Pleiades, Hyades, okay, so let's set our navigation. Go to object. Give Matrix. I've got George and a wife. A wife and George. George is like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life.
It's all right. He just was sitting in my laundry basket.
Well, there's that. He's like, but it's floofy in here.
So I figured I'd come say hi.
And George could say hi too.
Yeah.
Hello, George and wife from Brent. Messages from George. Okay, I'm going to pull back 2.5 light years. That's just enough to keep Bellatrix in the view. But not a lot to... Because, I mean, there's Monster, right? Because that's Betelgeuse. Interesting how much Betelgeuse is going to be this big monster in every picture. Okay. Now, can I set the view? Yeah. I don't know if anybody said anything. Scratches are required. Scratches are required. It's funny. So it is Geek Tank today. All right. All right. So we do get Geek Tank, yes. I need to. The problem, of course, is that I love this, but I want a higher resolution output. So how do I capture an image? I mean, other than to capture an image, what is the size of image? I mean, it's not going to help if it's the same size as what I've already got. So maybe maybe it's in preferences. What are the preferences for this? Knowing how Celestial works, it's probably a script somewhere in a configuration module. There's not a lot out here. I mean, you can capture an image, but I feel like there's no preferences control inside here. So view options, let me make sure that everything is correct here. You're not going to do it unless I actually do that. Okay, well then, let's check it and see what it says. I mean, the good news is, yeah, see, it's capturing it with all of its core information. Well, yeah, but if it outputs the image at a higher resolution, see, that's not a higher resolution like that. I'm going to real quickly check. Yeah. Screen dumps. Okay. I feel like this is good for a start, but it's not going to be good for the ultimate end result. So it's not bad for a start, but it's got nothing it can do but a screen dump, which means that it has to run at the resolution of the screens. And I run my resolutions pretty low, simply so that I can do the job. I mean, that's RC. Actually, sadly, the only reason I'm running at a lower resolution is because I'm getting blinder as I get older. I spent 25 years staring at these screens, and my eyes are getting fuzzier and weirder, and this distance is getting to the point where I can barely read what's on the screen up here. So I could probably crank the resolution on all my monitors to its highest resolution capability and then get really close like this while I try to snip things. And that might not be a bad idea. And I mean, because I just then set it for a very super high resolution, take the pictures, and then come back into normal mode. The good news is they'd all match, right? So I could make just a 6-panel or a 9-panel triptych at this resolution. It'd still be fine. I just need to figure out what a 9-panel triptych would be with the resolution depth that I'm after. I also need to figure out where moment is to make a default spot from behind the default spot from behind the wall. So we'll need to do that. That's not a problem, not a big deal. I can do that this afternoon and probably have it ready for us tomorrow morning. That'd be fine. So we'll do that. In the meantime, we're going to switch to Geek Tank and go over and do Geek Tanky stuff. Geek Tankian things. So I will see you over on the other side. I was seeing if Brian wanted to join us and take over the show. But I don't think Brian's up this morning, which is fine. He usually probably takes a Monday off. I see him have seen the show, but I figure I'll see whether he joins here in the next second or two. In the meantime, yeah, we've got a lot going on here on this. as far as that goes. So we'll have to see what happens. So we'll go ahead. Oh, hey, you know what I can do? Looks like I can join Geek Tank at the same time as I can still continue to broadcast, which is kind of cool. Because like they're talking, I can actually join both of these at the same time, amazingly, which I didn't know I could do. So waiting for Brian to join the show. I've gotten very green. It's gotten very green. I'm greening now. So that's where we are. So anyway, okay, guys. Well, I'm out for the day. I will talk to you guys later, and I'll see you tomorrow. Like I said, I'll go ahead and take pictures of these, and we'll do that. Until then, goodbye.